Welcome.
Attention, please.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to the No Comfort Zone podcast. It's time to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose. Broadcasting to the world from Rockford, Illinois. This is your wake-up call.
Warning.
You are the solutions to all your problems. Stop thinking average. Become the hero version of yourself. Every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. It all matters. You've entered the No Comfort Zone. It's time for a reality check.
Hey, glad you made it back to the No Comfort Zone. This is Dan. So today I want to talk to you about something that might help you go towards success and get away from failure. And I'll be honest, this is not one of the things that I've created. It's one of the things that I completely used from Tony Robbins, and I call it scientific research because I take all of his stuff. But it really did help me, and maybe it'll help you. Maybe it'll serve you today. So what I would do is I would go into organizations and I would talk about their sales process, and I would look at their management team, and I would look at their sales staff, and I would look at their process. And in doing so, what I realized that there was a lot of time wasted in the process. And in order for me, time wasted meaning, why would it take 4 hours to do something that could take 40 minutes? You know, what was the breakdown? Why was that happening? Where was that huge disconnect? And what I realized was that people were deviating from a process. They were getting caught up and being distracted and being thrown in different directions. Some of it was very intentional, and some of it was just from lack of communication from, let's say, management to sales. So what I would do is I would go in and I would talk, like, for example, how I would go meet them is I would offer free sales training. And the free sales training was an opportunity for me to give them a few bullet points that would help them, impact them, so they could sell something and generate an income that day. And it was great because the business owners would appreciate the fact that I would come in and do that. And also it would truly force them to train, to actually do it. And these would range anywhere from, the shortest one I've done was probably 10 minutes in Southern California, to the longest one that I've done that kept going on and they kept asking me to keep going was about an hour and a half. And after an hour and a half, I think what you're doing is it's more of a presentation than it is actual, teaching, because you can only learn so much and, master one thing and work that and just watch what happens to your career. So that's the key. I mastered one close a long time ago, and I used that close for 7 years, and it served me very well. And that was one of my sales managers taught me that close, and no one else would use it. I used it, and it worked wonderfully. It was a wonderful opportunity to give everybody all the information they needed, give them full control, and decide what it is they wanted to do and how they wanted to proceed. Yeah, it's powerful. So what I would do is I would actually go in and I would offer this up, and I'd ask questions. Very interactive, very engaging. And I think it's important that, that if somebody's going to train on a process, they need to have an intimate knowledge of that process and need to be able to step in different places along the way during that process. So that's what I would do. And so I learned how to do that. I learned how to do this on my own. Then I learned how to duplicate it with a really small team. And then I learned how to present it to a lot of people on a bigger level. And that was great because a lot of those people ended up taking this sales training and management training and taking it very seriously, and it impacted their careers very well. Now, here's the cool part. Nothing is original. It's not original. I've taken, and this was the hardest part for the longest time. Somebody said that I sounded like this trainer. I sounded just like him. Another person said, I worked for Cardone for a while. They said, you're starting to sound just like Grant Cardone. You sound a lot like Tom Hopkins. You sound a lot like Gary Cooper. You sound a lot like Brian Tracy. And you sound a lot like Anthony Robbins. Well, I didn't like being known for that. And so, because that's the stuff I would study, that's stuff I would talk about, that's stuff I'd read about, that's the things that I would try to live. But what's funny is you can talk about it all you want, but if you don't live that, then what ends up happening is you fall short, and that's where you fail. And that's what happened to me. I had all this knowledge, but I never applied it. And I finally got to a point in my life where I decided to take all this knowledge based on an emotional wound that happened. And I started applying this information to my life over a 60-day period. Took it very seriously, very intensely, completely uncomfortable. The no comfort zone was started. And I created a version of myself that I finally wanted. So now I don't sound like anybody. I sound like everybody, but I sound like myself. It's unique to me. Here's what I took from Tony Robbins and how it's relative to sales training in your personal life and everything else in between. Momentum. Now, momentum's a word that a lot of people use in the personal growth. You need momentum, but first you need to start. And what Tony Robbins did is he wrote on a blackboard, he wrote out like in the corner of this board, in each corner he wrote a square. And he wrote a word in there. Let's say, for example, it was, let's say, I hate to use diet and exercise, but it's such an easy one. Let's do this, personal growth. So personal growth, that's your objective. You want to grow personally. You want to have personal growth. You want to become a better version of yourself. Okay, so what are one of the things you need to do? You need to work on your discipline. All right, so you need to work on your discipline. You need to work on your work ethic. You need to work on your goals. And you need to work on, help me out here, what else could you work on? Relationships, okay, for personal growth. So discipline, you have goals in place. Let's start in that bottom right box. You start out with your goals. And if I had a visual, I should probably do this on the channel. But if you start out with your goals, you want to be able to, the activity goals. I'm going to read this book and I'm going to take notes and I'm going to apply those principles and I'm going to read this book. And the discipline part is you're going to read, let's say you're going to read 30 pages of that. So you read it, then you go to the next box and the next box and the next box. Your work ethic, your discipline, and all those things. And what happens is when you have personal growth as your goal and you hit one of those, I read for 30 minutes on personal growth and I took notes and I translated it into how I can use it in my life and how I'm going to apply it. And better yet, personal growth, how about this? I'm also going to share it with somebody else to help them. That's how you master things, by sharing it with other people. I'm becoming a stronger coach every day by helping other people. Everybody has adversity. Everybody can learn from their adversity. I learned from mine. Some of the same principles that I've learned from mine can apply to you, but I have to listen and see what's most important to you and how that works for you. And listening is a big part of this. But now, okay, so now that you got your personal growth that you're working towards, what you end up doing is you end up taking you've read the book, you've wrote the notes, now you're sharing it with somebody. Great, check that off the list. Well, now it's going to encourage you to do a little bit more when it comes to, let's say, for example, your work ethic. So I know that if I've read some personal growth stuff, and let's say the personal growth stuff was about doing things now and getting it completed now, getting it off your plate now, you have that ability at this point to get things completed now. So you've read the stuff, now you're getting the stuff off your plate, now you're accomplishing things, you're feeling pretty good about it, your work ethic is in check, and now you go to your disciplines. What are your disciplines? My disciplines, did I read the 30 pages? Yeah. Did I apply it? Did I do those things? Am I going to go to bed early so I'm well rested and I can be the best version of myself in the morning? Am I going to do my goals in the morning? Am I going to do it every day? Even in the face of adversity, am I going to get the job done? Sure. Okay, good. So you can check that off the list. Now you're developing some synergy. 1 + 1 + 1, it's 3, but now when you look at it, you're in a success cycle. You have momentum. Things are getting better. It's getting easier. You're in flow. You really start to accomplish things and it becomes easier. Now, here's what also happens. Here's what's happened to yours truly time and time again. I go to pursue something, I read the book, but I don't apply the principles. I don't teach somebody and I don't read the 30 pages. I failed. I feel less about myself. I'm not as encouraged to put more disciplines in place. I'm not as encouraged to work harder, but you still can. You still can change the game by working a little bit harder. At any point, I always say this, it's never too late to start your day over again. And if you've got goals, and let's say there's 4 of them, 4 activities that you need to do or work on, you can do this with anything, cleaning your house, parenting your kids. You can do it with a relationship. You can do it for your income. There's so many things that you can use this success failure quadrant that I learned from Tony Robbins, that it's really what starts my day. And if I can get 2 of those blocks out of the gate, writing my goals, doing my exercise, right first thing in the morning, I'm winning. I am in momentum. And that momentum will carry me throughout the day. Will adversity happen? 100%. Will I fall off course? Of course I will. It's just the way life is. You learn from it and you move on. But if you have this like blueprint, and this is the last part of the blueprint, I've incorporated it, the Tony Robbins segment of what I don't know if he created it or not, but, I hope I'm not plagiarizing it, but I'm using this to tie all the other things together, to tie the mindset, to tie the purpose, to tie the cash, knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits, to tie the fuel that you need in order to pursue all these things. And I put that that's the last part of it. And when you get to this point, it's just a matter of sustaining excellence. It's a matter of sustaining performance at a high level. And that's what athletes love about it, is that when you get into the zone, when you get into flow, when the time comes for you to have to show up, you're already there and prepared. You know what you have to do. You've practiced, you've drilled, you rehearsed. You know, you have your knowledge, your attitude, your skills, and your habits all in place. By the way, the reason why the blueprint has 4 segments in each segment, and there's 4 segments plus the 5th one, is specifically so you can throw it into that momentum cycle. Because when you do that, you don't have competition. When you do that, you don't really have too much adversity. Adversity disintegrates in your presence. You're there, you're in the zone. It's what I would call, the best way for me to say it is enlightenment. And for me, it happened in about 60 days. I'm still pursuing it. I'm not the enlightened one. I've just realized that I can create my own happiness, get rid of adversity. I can actually get rid of fear, doubt, negativity, and I can live life on my own terms simply by following the blueprint. And that's what I want for you. So if you can take the success and failure cycle and use that, so when you realize that you're going down the failure cycle, only more failure is going to beget more failure. And more failure and more failure. You need to stop it. And if you look at it in the morning, if you look at it at night, the good news is you can stop it twice a day just by realizing where you're at. But all too often, people go through their life not realizing that they're in a failure cycle. And when they're in that failure cycle for a long time, they wake up someday and they're like, man, I'm 50, I'm fat, I'm broke, I'm getting a divorce, and my kids hate me, and I'm about ready to lose my job. All that stuff happens because you stop paying attention. First part of the blueprint is becoming aware. Today is the day I want you to be aware, and I want you to start living outside of your comfort zone so you can live on purpose.
Say goodbye.
Want more of the No Comfort Zone? You can follow Dan on Instagram and Twitter at NoComfortZone1.
Bye.
Or on the web at thenocomfortzone.com.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the No Comfort Zone podcast.